Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for day one of our series. We're doing another series. We do them roughly every other month. We do a series that's multiple webinars, all on a certain theme. And this time we're doing a year in the life of a student. Now, we did, probably about 18 months ago, we did a day in the life of a student, looking at a fictional student and going through their typical day and how they would use assistive technology to support them on that particular day. Well, we thought we'll take a look at the entire academic year and then look at what students need to do when they're at university throughout the year, because there's different things that are happening. And so through the week, we're going to go through the year and have a look at different things that you do during an academic year at university, and looking at the assistive technology that can help with those tasks and things that you do. And because it's Neurodivergent Awareness Week, is that what it's called this
I think,
week?
yeah, it's to celebrate Neurodiversity Week. But
Yes. We won't be looking at a particular specific student, but we will be focusing on disabilities that are neurodivergent disabilities. So things like ASD and dyslexia, ADHD, those kind of disabilities, which we often do talk about because most of our assistive technology does support those challenges. So yeah, we're going to sort of pretend each day one of us is going to take the lead as in being the student, and so we're not having to jump from one screen to another, and that uses a bit of time up, and it can be a bit, not so smoothly flowing. So apart from today, today I wasn't going to be here. It was going to be Emily, just because of the products we were looking at, but sadly she is off ill. So I've jumped in and I am going to be Emily. And one of the things we're going to look at today is Study Key, and because it's a phone app, I'm going to be sharing my screen. Because of that, I will also be talking about Pro Study. Normally, Sam would be, of course, but he's on holiday. So, yes, it's me and Gary today, and it's all about Monday. Monday is today all about what happens right at the beginning of your studies, beginning of the academic year. Well, how can you use your assistive technology to help you settle in and feel organised and not feel overwhelmed with everything? Because we've got lots of tech that can help with that. So we're going to be having a look at that. And as we go through the week, we're going to be looking at having lectures, reading, writing, and research, going on a placement, and finally, on Friday, all about revision and exams. So different things we're looking at on different days of the week. So it's all about settling in today, and I will pass over to Gary because he is going to lead this because he has two key pieces of assistive tech that certainly helps with that side of things. Thank you, Gary.
excellent. Thank you very much, Mary. What I will do is I am going to share my screen. So hopefully everyone can see that. And I have a mind map, and hopefully
Yes,
you can see all of that. So
very clear.
yes, I really appreciate all of your time today. It's very important. None of this happens without you, so thank you very much. Um, Another thanks to Mary as well, because Mary has jumped in at the last minute to save us because my colleague Emily is ill. So brilliant. Appreciate super sub work, Mary. But
Problem.
yes, we're going to talk today about the Miser Suite products, Study Key and Pro Study, and you'll see a map that I've made already. And I've wanted to do this for quite a few weeks now, essentially to say, here's one I made earlier, because I've heard that from so many of my colleagues, but I'm old enough to realize that that was something I heard probably in the early 70s in Blue Peter. So this is something I've made earlier. It is a mind map to show us all essentially what a student will go through in their first couple of weeks to month to semester. And where I got this map is I asked my daughters who are at university right now. Okay, this is their first year, semester two. In old money, it's term two, but things have changed. So university life has changed a little with regards to what they need to do and how they do it and what they use to get the best out of their work. But most of the internals haven't changed. For instance, coursework, the research that's involved, support, the management of your day, week, month, term, or semester hasn't changed. Examinations certainly haven't changed. And extracurricular activities, according to the girls and how they've explained it, really haven't changed. So, what I want to do, as I have this map open, and I will build a map very shortly just to show you how easy this is. But I have reduced this map down in size because it's not quite a particularly in-depth map, but it does give you an idea of what is required by a student with regards to each of these areas. And I'll aim to be very brief in this area. So with regards to coursework, we have products that will help student in lectures. So for instance, the likes of Ivy Notes. We have software that will help with assignments. So my product, MindMeister, will help break down content-heavy assignments and project work into small, bite-sized, manageable pieces. And not only that, but students can essentially brain dump all of their ideas and their support buddies' ideas onto a map to help them with that assignment. In exams, we have products like ProStudy that will help. And even in practicals, we have other products like, and I was trying to think of what we had that would be specific to lab work or practicals, but we have a product called LightKey and LightKey Medical that would be specifically for students in a particular course. So we have everything for every requirement. So all of those learning difficulties, whether it be time management or process-driven issues or non-linear working, we have ways and means to support those students. In research, where I see MindMeister working really well, is that in that library work or research, even looking at databases or URLs and group project work, MindMeister really shines because you can put your ideas on the screen or essentially digital paper as fast as you want, but also you can add and develop each body of that map out by adding content, documents, links, asking other colleagues for support, even tutors for support. So there are areas that I'm going to show you in a second that really build that out to make this a fully collaborative piece of work, but also a way that you can present your work very quickly. In academic support, you can also link to your tutor. Now, tutors may have access to your software, but your other friends, students, for instance, may not. But what a student can do using their MindMeister account is actually link to another student who doesn't have an account and ask them for support on a particular map, and that is accessible without any barrier. So essentially, other students can help you or support you use your map and even present from your map without having an account. So there's no barriers to use and support. If I move the map across to time management, we can also expand that with MindMeister, because MindMeister can, in DSE, be provided as a bundle. So there are two products, essentially a brother and sister or siblings. One is called MindMeister, one is MeisterTask, and MeisterTask takes that heavy lifting away from providing a schedule or prioritizing work or supporting deadlines. So you can add a connect to that then is integrated directly with your diary. So it's absolutely perfect to support you in your endeavors, not only with regards to priority and focus, but helps neurodiverse learners study and produce work in a timely manner so they don't have that anxiety of missing a deadline. And then the final two areas, examinations, of course, we have lots of products that help in examinations. Of course, MyMeister can help you brain dump your information onto the page. But also, again, like I said, Mary will come in a little bit later on and talk briefly about Pro Study and how that can help you with your studies, but also Study Key that will help you in a mobile fashion. So wherever you are, you can add and learn on the go. Last and by no means least to my daughters is the extracurricular activities. Now, I had to actually fight and look elsewhere to get activities because their activities were essentially public house based. So that's not a good reflection on me as a father, but that's where they go for their extracurricular activities. But in this map, I've added a few notes, and you can see that yourself. I've added notes where here I've asked a colleague for support. Here I've added a link to a task, and I'll show you all that in a second. And here I have a link to a website. So you can see that I have here the Queen's University website. So I have linked that on the map to the URL. And again, that is so simple to do, but it means that what you're seeing here is a map that I've built very quickly that has all sorts of developments inside of it and connections as well. So somewhere in here, I have connected, and let me see, I think it's gone, but I have a document, a PDF document somewhere. Let me see. No, it's disappeared. But what I'm going to do is rather than search around for it, I am going to add an attachment and I'm going to upload a document. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is the document that my daughter provided me with. So this is essentially her very first working document. And this is for an architecture course, her degree. You'll see that it is semester one and it has all sorts of. So I'm going to quickly scan through and just show you that we have everything involved with regards to objectives, schedule of project, right through to a reading list. So this is a PDF document that she has access to. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to find the brief and I'm just going to highlight some of this brief very quickly and I'm going to copy that. And what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can hide the panel. Right, so what I'm going to do is open up a new map and I'm going to take this as read that some of you will have seen this dashboard before. I'll go back in a few minutes and just quickly go over the dashboard, but we have a tool called Generate with AI. So if I highlight that and just paste my information into the document bar, it'll take a second and it will support me from having anxiety of almost a blank page approach to work. So straight away, I have built a basic mind map from the brief that I've got. Now, this has added some connections. So if I just reduce this down in size and reduce a couple of areas, you can see that what the mind map tool has done is built my map that I can now personalize as I see fit. So I always like a little bit of color, so I'm just going to make that colorful. And at this stage, I can also start adding information. Again, I can add to my document. So I can add attachments. And for instance, I have assessment and reading document, which I've already been sent for this first project. And I now have that stored in my map. So what I've actually done to alleviate that issue of um, anxiety building my first map or delivering my first project or even my first presentation, I've taken content from my working document, my project. I've dropped it into MindMeister. It's built me a basic map that I can now start to not only personalize, but add content to help me. So I have notes, you'll notice, from that document that I can start to add or change if I want. So I could potentially take this, remove it, and add the students because it's a group of three. So I have and do know that I've got Georgina, Victoria, and Emily in my group of three tutorial chat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bullet point that. So you'll see straight away, very quickly, it's an easy, almost like a word processing tool, formatting solution that I can start to build up more knowledge and more of my knowledge into this document.
It's so quick, isn't it? That just paste in some text and it instantly makes a mind map. So yeah, for those students who like a page of just a solid page of text, overwhelming. I know I'm dyslexic. If I see a full page of text, I just much prefer someone to tell me just roughly what it says rather than having to put the effort in to reading it all. Well, this is
Yes.
doing a similar thing, isn't it? It's like splitting it up into the different bits, and then you can look at just little bits at a time, and it's so visual. I like that.
It,
It's so fast.
it's really brilliant. And one of the things, and again, the reason I do it this quickly or try to anyway is because this is how my daughter that uses the product actually uses it. She likes to get the information onto the page very quickly. And this addition to a fairly simple but curtailed AI solution within MindMap means you can take a document up to about 5,000 characters, which when you look at it seems quite big, but actually it's not particularly big. So it's a document and or a prompt in there to start to build a map. And it will only take that information that you give it and start to build a framework or a skeleton. And the other reason that I start like this is because the area that she uses most, and this is different than my day at university, is that she uses this button, which is your present tool. And she, and again, we found this out to her detriment because she didn't like this at all, and it gave her quite a bit of anxiety to start with, was that she has to present every week, whether it be to her tutor, to the wider group, to her buddies. So there's at least one presentation a week. And that's something I never had to do as a student. Now, with MindMeister, she's found over the last 2 months that it's taken all of that anxiety away because she builds the map as she sees fit. So she takes her ideas, puts them on paper, she collaborates with some of her friends, and then if she needs to present, she just clicks the present tool. And what that does, it turns her map into a presentation tool. But again, she uses this in two separate ways. She uses the arrow key just to start presenting, but she'll do this as she's building the map. So she will actually test the map to see if it looks and feels like a good presentation, and she will test and run through what she's going to say as she's doing that. But you can imagine that this takes away the anxiety she had before from building a map, then taking that map and exporting it to another tool or piece of software, and then having to present from that again. So she is essentially taking everything she knows about MindMeister and just presenting from MindMeister. So it makes life so much easier for her. And from my point of view, when I present the product, because I do, it makes the job so much easier for me. So if I just exit out of that, I'll just take a back seat and move directly away from that map. You can see that that in itself is a really, really fast and a rapid way to get from A to B, to present a map, build a map and present a map.
Yeah, and it helps with the structure. She knows that she's going to do it in the right order, doesn't she?
Yes.
Um, if you didn't, maybe if you had a few cards or something, I think I'd be more anxious compared to just pressing a button and moving on, and you know that it's going to be the next thing to talk about. Yeah.
Yes, and definitely for her because of her um, skills with her functionality of making sure everything is in the right order. It's great to present, but what it also does, it gives her that framework of if she sees what is next on that presentation tool, she can then move whatever area in that map to, say, the top or the bottom or the side. But it means that she can work it out as she goes and is able to change that map around to make it fit her presentation. But as I also said, and I'll quickly mention this as well, not only is she able to present, but she is able to export that document. So if I was to, bear with me one second, I'm just going to reset that. So if I go to the export tool and I click on the export button, what MindMeister can do is it can pick other formats. So documentation formats, other mind map formats, and it will allow you to present that document. So if I just leave it on a PDF and export it to a PDF, it will drop that document into my folder and I can present that document and it will just provide me with the mind map and then all of the areas and notes that I have made on that mind map. So it will just identify them, note them, name them, and provide me with a PDF of that mind map. So you have lots of different formats you can change your mind map into to make it easier to present in a specific mode if your course requires that. But if you just imagine that all of this makes it so much more simple for my daughter to get from her idea to a map with all of her thoughts and all of her collateral in one place with links, with information, and she can even ask for support from other students. But most importantly, she can present that directly or in another format. So it works really, really well for her. So if I was to do one other thing, I'm going to exit out of this map very briefly and just mention one other area, which from day one, if you're using a mind mapping tool like MindMeister from the get-go, there are lots of areas that have support almost built in. So not only can you choose the type of map or chart or list, you can go into a templates area where there are new looks and feels of maps where you can preview and just use those templates, or you can go to the Meister universe. And what that is essentially is a library of almost 1.1 million interactive mind maps. Now, they haven't got there in day one. This is a project of love because MindMeister has been around for almost 20 years. And over that time, there have been lots of interactive mind maps that have been built and provided to the MindMeister team. And they have checked those maps and essentially categorized them. So a student or a user can go in, search for a particular type of map. You can even use a search tool. So you can see I've looked for essay support, robot technology, but you can go and choose by category and even in a language format that isn't English. So you can choose a separate language and you can choose a map. You can test to see if it's valid for use for you. So does that work for you in your work and field? And if it does, then probably 90% of those maps can be saved and edited. So again, from a initial user's point of view, it has a very simple UX and UI. So that user experience and user interface is very simple and easy to get used to. But also there are ways to make presentation simple and ways to make finding content or a step onto the ladder of interactive maps very easy by using the MindMeister universe. So super easy and super simple. Last but not least, before I pass you over to Mary, I'm going to open up one other map. Oh, and on this map, you can see that it's similar to the one I've opened previously, but I'm going to do that while I also open up my mobile device somewhere, because I'm going to take an area. So that sonic atmospheric drawings, and I've read this project and I still really don't understand this. So that's either I'm too old for this or it hasn't been explained properly. But what I'm going to do here is I am going to start by adding a comment and I am going to share that map and I can share that map even with Mary. So for instance, I can find Mary and I can share that map with Mary, but I can make sure that she's a contributor and I can share that map. But what I can also do now is because I've shared the map with Mary, I can start, bear with me one second, I can start to ask for Mary's help. So I can send a message to Mary. I can say, help with today's lecture notes. And hopefully, this will be a really nice little handover because hopefully I'll have sent a message to Mary. Mary should receive that message and it should allow Mary to access this map. And if she had notes from today, she could actually add them to the map and then we could interact. So this is giving me a great opportunity to pass the baton. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing and Mary's going to take you on a very, very brief journey into study key and pro study.
Thank you, Gary.
No
And
problem.
I shall share my screen. First thing I will show you is the email I received when you put in my name, you put at Mary.
Yes.
That sent me automatically this email to say, look, this is exactly what Gary wrote. So I can just click on view map and then I can see what he needs help with, and I can then also contribute to the mind map. So it does really work very effectively together as a collaborative tool, which is often very useful when you're starting at university. It's all a bit overwhelming. You want reassurance more than anything, I think. I'm just going to share my screen. With making a start, you've got your first presentation, you've got your first essay, first lecture to attend. Lots of firsts, and it's overwhelming, especially if you're neurodivergent. You've got those worries on top of being away from home for the first time. So I'm just going to click on reshare it. It times out, this mirroring app, so I just need to wake it up again. We'll need to close it and open it again, I think. So, because I'm going to show you, the Study Key app, and I'm sharing my phone screen because it is a phone app. This is not an app like a web app, like many of our products are for a computer. This is a phone app, and so I need to show you it on my phone. Now, of course, Emily was going to be showing it, so she was going to show her Study Key app. And it's all personal to the user, so I've got different things on compared to Emily. So this is not linked as Emily's would have been to Gary's daughter's course, but I thought I can still show you, and you'll get a really good idea, because today, of course, is all about settling into university life, and with Study Key, it is key to set it up. It's essential, actually. If you've not set up your Study Key account, it's not going to be very useful for you. You need to create your profile and add various things to make it an effective tool. And once you have done, it's very effective, and particularly effective with looking back and reflecting on how your studies are going. And you put in your challenges, and then you can really take a look at how it is going, because many students, especially if they're neurodivergent, they might be stuck thinking they are failing. They cannot do this course. It's all too much. If they've been checking in, I'll show you that in a moment, they can reflect and see, actually, a couple of months ago, I was doing okay. It's not as bad as it seems. Just because I'm feeling a bit low today, I have been doing okay. But it also helps with finding places, key information, which is there's a lot of information, isn't there, when you first go to university. This is what it looks like when you first open Study Key. So it is an app. And you've got a profile section, and this is the bit that needs to be set up. It can, of course, be set up with an AT trainer. There will have been allocated some training time to do things like this, get their Study Key set up, and also learn how to use it as well, use it effectively. So I've added already, like Gary was saying, this is what I've already done, like Blue Peter years ago. But I can show you what the content is and what needs to be added and what you can change and decide how it looks. So you put in support people. So I've got Sam as my support person. So it's important to put someone in so they are an easy connection. This could be a friend, it could be a tutor, it could be their mum, their dad, their sister. But just someone to have there that you can contact. They've got the information there. So and you can choose when that person needs to be contacted when we're looking at the tasks and reflecting on those. So key contacts, that's important as well. So you've got support people and key contacts. They're just like easy access to people who are important in your life and will help you with your studies, especially if you're feeling alone and a bit worried about how it's all going. And there is, if it is particularly bad, there's emergency contacts there. There's the Samaritans and Papyrus and Christian. I think that's Christian. Oh, no, Christian, that is my husband. So you can put a key person in there as well. I was like, Christian, always like Christian Aid or something, like some Christian thing. No, that's my husband. Anyway, we're moving down. These are the important bits that you need to choose. You need to select what are you finding hard, or what are you going to find difficult at university. So I've ticked various things. These are already available in Study Key. You can add your own as well. So I've put in communication, confidence, motivation, and organisation, and very slow at working. Particularly me, very slow at reading. I am very slow. Click continue, and then you can add a bit more detail. So I put more detail, you can click on the pencil and add the detail, which I've already done. So I don't know how much information to share when I'm communicating. I forget to get in touch with people, I go weeks and weeks and I forget that people are really useful in helping with your studies. So I've put a little bit of information about my challenges there. I click save. And this is, there's another 3 things that need to be set up. Response format. Now this is what you do with Study Key is you have a daily check-in. You decide what time that is, and it checks in on you by seeing a little icon. We'll see this later in the week when we're looking at doing lectures. Emily will show you. She's set up a check-in just before her key lecture is about to start, so she can reflect. And I've chosen to respond with smiley faces, very happy, okay, or very sad. So I've chosen the smiley faces. That's what that bit's for. So that's a very basic bit. And then we've got tasks. I think this is possibly the most important bit, and this is what the student. Oh, it's not sharing this. It's frozen. Just a minute. It's the mirroring thing again. I should try again to connect. So I will talk while I'm sharing again. The task is the key thing, which they would change throughout the year because you're going to be doing different tasks. That's why we're doing a year in the life of a student, and there will be different things that you'll want to be looking at and really reflecting on. So you choose and switch them on and off depending on what you're doing. So I share my entire screen. Let's see if it's gonna. Yeah, we're back. So yeah, tasks is a key thing. I wouldn't say add 20 tasks. You'll have check-ins like throughout the day, and it'll be just too much. I've got two tasks at the moment selected: reading for lectures and attending a meeting. But
Mary, sorry, if you're sharing your screen, I still can't see it.
Can you not see it? All right. I will share. I'll try again. At least you told me. No, I'll stop sharing and share again.
Oh.
Share. Can you see it now?
Yes. Perfect.
Good. I don't know why it times out that screen sharing app. It's like 5 minutes, I think. So you take the ones, you can have a list of things that you're going to find difficult or challenging, or their tasks throughout the year, and then you select the ones that you want to look at the moment. So I could add another one, planning an assignment, and then you click continue, and then you're going to select what it is that's going to be a challenge. What communicating, maybe if you were doing a presentation, or motivation if you've got an essay to write. That sort of thing. And this is where you choose what happens when you select the different emojis. So when it's sad, if I do a sad one, that means I want to quit. So you add the information there, and then you have to. It seems like a lot of work, but once it's set up, it's going to be very effective. If you don't set this up, it's going to be, waste of time doing it. So yes, that's struggling. And then this is a motivational thing. What if you're saying you're really struggling? I'm going to quit this course. I feel terrible. I don't know what to do. Then you need to choose what's going to happen. What do you want to happen? Send me a nice picture. Contact one of your key contacts, notify them that you're really struggling, because you might not want to phone them up yourself, but through the app that might be really useful, so you can indirectly contact them. So you can choose an action which is going to help you be more motivated. This is like a hug, a little hug in the app, I think. So then you can carry on. Notify me at, so you set what time, maybe not 2:45 in the morning. So notify me at maybe 3:45 in the afternoon. There we go. And then I've not connected. Yes. Put a message. Type your message. You are Wonderful. So I would get that nice little message if I was feeling bad. And that's going to help me. Yeah, there. So you need to do that for all the tasks. That's why I say don't do like 20 different tasks. Just the key ones, the 2 or 3 things that the student's really finding a challenge. So that's tasks. You need to set those up. And then we've got a toolkit. This would be a useful place for you to put key things, especially students who possibly, because they're autistic, they like to see visually what their lecture is going to look like, or what the building's going to look like, or key information that's in study key, so to reduce anxiety and make them feel a bit more prepared. They like to know, maybe they're less anxious if they know what things are going to look like, or lots of information about what they're going to be doing at university. So this is a area of study key called the toolkit where you can put information. I've got a timetable, very useful. Just click on there, and I've got a reading list there for my assignments, and I've got some information about light key there as well. So it's a place where you wouldn't put everything, you wouldn't put all your university documents in, you put the key things that are going to help you with reduced anxiety when you're going about your daily university life. So that is study key and the importance of setting it up. Emily will be looking at other areas of it, or things in a bit more detail, like the check-ins and reflecting, the insights section, later in the week when we're looking at different parts of the academic year. So that is study key. And we are going to move also on to, just close that, and we're going to now move swiftly on to Pro Study, because it also is a real help throughout the year. Pro Study is, and for many students, it's not so many people that are shown Pro Study say, oh, that would have helped me so much when I was at university. I wish I had it. It does help, especially students who have challenges with organisation and overwhelm with trying to remember where they found information, if they're dyslexic, and structuring things, seeing things in a visual way, and having everything all in one place. And it's also available anywhere. You can use it on your phone, like many of our products. You can. But study key, Pro Study, we've moved on. Another study name of assistive technology, and this one also helps with referencing, which is always a worry. You don't want to lose points, marks for referencing incorrectly, do you? And it will do automatic referencing as well. But of course, when you're starting your course, you need to set that up. So we'll start with just looking at the referencing section. And then we'll move along with a few things that I've added into a project. Right, so references. This is my account. I'm in a browser. It's a web app, and I've logged in. I've got various projects on the go, which we'll look at in a moment. But you do need to set what reference style your university uses. So there are, look, over 9,500 different referencing styles. So you can put in the university you're at. So if I went to De Montfort University, I have to spell it right, not defortment, De Montfort. There we go. De Montfort University uses Harvard. So I can click on there, and I know that the structure of my referencing will be correct for there. And you can select it depending on which project you're using. Maybe, I don't know, if different departments, I think different departments use different referencing styles. So maybe it will be a different reference for a different project. And you can do that. You can save it for a specific project. This is the autumn semester, which I created. So you create various projects in Pro Study and then collect lots of information, and it's all saved in one place. So that might be for an assignment, and you're going to academic papers, you're going to websites, you've gone to the library, and there's a book with a page of text you want to collect as well. You don't have to have a million tabs open all at once and copy and paste all that information. You just use the browser extension, which is on the top right, to collect the information, and it's all automatically saved. That's what the numbers are on the left-hand side. So I split my autumn semester project into 3 sections: assignments, information, and assessments. And the number 2 in assignments means I've collected 2 things. So what I've collected is a YouTube video about orthographic drawing. Easy and simple. I don't think it would be, but this person who did the video did. But I just went to the page, a YouTube page, where that was, and collected it using this browser extension. I just clicked on YouTube Capture, and it automatically puts it in my project, so I can easily access that. And then I've got a link here to the page at Queen's University. And this is about what referencing styles they do. So if I click on the www dot, it will open in a new tab that page. And so I can have a look. You look, they use Chicago and Harvard and APA. There we are, ML, all various, many different kinds of referencing. So because I wanted to easily access that, I added it into ProStudy there. And so that's what that is. And we did mention that Gary's daughter had a reading list for that semester. So what I did was I copied that reading list and I put it into the reading list section in ProStudy for the autumn semester. So it is there and I can easily access it there. Gary also gave me some files from his daughter, which I have also added into ProStudy. So if I go to files, so on the top, I've got files from different projects I've worked on in the past, but some are PDFs, some are PowerPoint presentations, got a Word document. So anything that you want to be taking information out of, you can upload in there, and then you can open it and collect the information from that document. I can just right click and look, save the content. This is how you collect it. It's very easy, no copy pasting involved. And go to autumn semester and I'll put that in the assessments section. There we are. And then if I just go back to the my ProStudy and refresh, it's already done it. Actually, I didn't need to press refresh. I thought it would need a refresh, but no. Now it's loading all my different projects. I've been studying too many different things. I think with my ProStudy, I've got 9 different things. So if I go to my my autumn semester project, look, it did have a 0 there. It's now got 1 because that's the text I've just highlighted, and it's put it automatically into there. If I go into info, it will give me some information about where I collected it from there. So that is a little introduction into ProStudy and how it can be used really effectively to have everything all in one place right at the beginning of an academic year to reduce overwhelm, especially for those students who struggle with the organisation and anxiety about, having everything they need and where to put everything. So it's all in one place. And that's that. We've done it in 50 minutes, Gary.
Brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, we've done day 1 and we're going to progress further into the academic year tomorrow. Tomorrow we are looking at lectures even, and the challenges involved in attending lectures. And we're going to look at the assistive technology that can help with the challenges that especially neurodivergent people have when they have to attend lectures, which is like a key thing at university, isn't it? So you definitely need some help with that. So all of these are recorded. All 5 sessions are going to be recorded, and we will share those recordings with you on a week today. And So don't worry if you can't attend them all, you will be able to catch up on the recording links. Thanks so much for your time. If there is there are any questions or anything, please put them in the chat. And we'll be looking at a bit more assistive technology tomorrow. Hopefully Emily will be back. Izzy is leading it tomorrow. Izzy, our solutions expert for iView and Ivy Notes and Likey. So another group session tomorrow. And I'll see you on Wednesday. I'm back. With Gary as well. You're with me, aren't you? On Wednesday.
I think so.
Yes,
I'm attending a few days.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you very much. We'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Rest of the day.
Thank you.
Stop sharing. And